Well, how are we doing, everyone? Hope we're all good. It's Friday, it's 8 p.m. It's the 26th of April, 2024, and we're here to take a look at the weather patterns for the next week and the longer term trends up to the next 2 weeks. So, yeah, we'll kick it all off. Well, if you do follow these forecasts, we start with the mean central England temperature, and it has dropped back a little bit further. We're now running at 9.8, but that is still 1.9 degrees above the long term average. Right, it has been cool. As we all know, temperatures have been really suppressed over the last few days, certainly since around about the sort of 15th of the month. But there are some tentative signs that there will be some warmer air trying at least to get into the UK. So this is tomorrow, still rather cool and quite wet, as we'll see in a moment, but some warmer air appearing over Eastern Europe, particularly over the course of the weekend. And if we just run this through to the early part of next week, some of that warmer air on the continent does try and at times succeeds. It gets across the UK. But as you see, these blue anomalies are reflective of days when there's perhaps a little bit more rain around. But the trend is that things will slowly warm up. So that's one positive. Right, taking a look at the current facts chart, this is the situation. We've now got low pressure down towards the southwest of the UK, and this will start to influence the weather over the course of the weekend. So that was today. This is midday tomorrow. Those fronts have pushed into the Midlands, some troughs across the northwest of Scotland. This is the situation on Sunday. An area of deep low pressure would have caused quite a wet early start to the day on Sunday. That'd be pushing into the North Sea. And then by Monday, we're kind of between weather systems, but yet you've guessed it, come Tuesday, the next weather bands will be pushing in from the west. But note with this, there's a warm front towards the east of the UK that's trying to bring in some warmer, muggy, potentially thunder air. And then you've got this area of low pressure out towards the southwest. So next week, a bit of a messy old picture, but as I've mentioned, nothing too significant in terms of wind, and it could be warm in any brighter spells. So what we'll now do is we'll take a look at the ECM's take on things. We'll start with this afternoon. As we've seen, cloud is now starting to push into the south of the UK, and this is the forerunner of quite a wet night for many southern areas. Mainly dry further north and still rather cold, so there's still the risk of a frost across parts of Ireland and Scotland overnight. But further south, as I've mentioned, that rain band will be pushing northwards. We start tomorrow, that fragmenting band of rain across parts of Wales and the Midlands, that will be slowly easing, and then things do brighten up, but there will be the usual midday, early afternoon crop of showers that develop as a result of instability in the atmosphere, firing up the convection and getting those showers going. So pretty much anywhere tomorrow is at risk of an afternoon shower. But then later on in the day, once again, we look down towards the south for another area of heavier and more persistent rain. Now, this will affect quite a wide area. It starts tomorrow evening in the south, but notice how this particular low pressure system, it winds itself up, it intensifies and it pushes northwards. So this is the situation come Sunday morning. So quite a lot of rain sitting down towards the southwest, across the Midlands, up towards parts of eastern England. Scotland, you're probably largely dry. There'll be a few showers around, but down towards the southeast, potentially earlier on in the morning, just the chance of some stronger winds, potential gales close to the southeast coast, at least for a time before that pushes out. During Sunday afternoon, that rain pivots in the North Sea, perhaps affecting more eastern parts of Scotland, but Sunday is generally an improving day with increasing amounts of afternoon sunshine, and those breezes will turn lighter. Move forward through to Monday. As I mentioned, we're between weather bands. There is low pressure in the Atlantic just pushing into Ireland. So a fairly wet day for parts of Ireland for sure, and some of those western fringes, also parts of southwest Scotland. During the course of the day, that rain it kind of holds out towards the west, but its eastward progress is being somewhat held up because we've got high pressure trying to assert itself from the east, which is where we're trying to get this warmer air in, aren't we, off the continent, with the lower pressure in the Atlantic trying to push the rain bands in from the west. So, yeah, a bit of a battle zone, but I think Tuesday is one of those days where that rain, the heaviest and persistent rain, will hold off out towards the west. But for many parts of the UK, come Tuesday, we're starting to draw in that warmer southeasterly feed. So, yeah, temperatures could be getting close to, I'm going to say, 20 degrees across some parts of eastern Britain, but further west, temperatures suppressed, especially if you're under the rain. Just towards the end of the day, notice these reds over on the near continent. They're indicative of that warm, humid air mass sparking of some thunderstorms. And I'm not going to rule out, certainly middle part of next week, some of those thundery showers possibly affecting parts of the southeast at times. Just run this forward through to let's go to next Friday. That low pressure out towards the southwest, it kind of recedes, doesn't it? High pressure starts to try to build across the north. We start to bring in an easterly flow, so perhaps a little bit less warm for Scotland as we start to draw in that air off the North Sea. And then as we just move that forward through to, say, next Thursday, still the risk of rain or thundery showers down to the southwest, with low pressure now over the near sort of continent, but higher pressure up towards the north of Scotland, keeping Scotland and Ireland perhaps a fair bit drier come this time next week, with just the rain or the showers confined to the southwest of the UK. Right, longer term trends. So we'll now start with those temperatures. As we've mentioned, there is a warming trend. We will be potentially approaching 20 degrees across London as we move towards certainly the 1st and the 2nd of May. There is a signal, however, that things could start to dip off again around about the 4th, 5th, 6th of May. But yeah, that's said with low confidence at the moment. In terms of the pressure in London, we'll just take a look at that. We are now trying to look out for sort of more settled conditions, and pressure generally low, as we've seen this weekend, does improve a little bit around the 29th, and it generally holds firm, doesn't it, for the remaining period, but perhaps with time slowly edging up as we move into that sort of early part of May. And if we just take a look at the precipitation spikes for London, certainly a wet signal for the first half of the period. We obviously the rain for tonight and tomorrow and early Sunday, and then again around the 2nd and 3rd of May, where we start to try and bring in that warmer air mass from the near continent with the potential of some thundery showers. A little bit further north to Manchester, so once again a wet signal, particularly early on the 28th. That's where we've got that rain system pushing up the country, and then really it's fair to say that Manchester, the signal is wet. Very few dry days in the mix there, certainly for the next sort of couple of weeks. And if we take a look at your pressure patterns, well, very similar to London. It does slowly improve, but there's no real definitive sign of high pressure. Move further north to Inverness. Well, there are signs, as we've seen, higher pressure could start to assert its influence up towards the north of Scotland next weekend. So that would signify a significant, or should I say, that would signify drier weather up there. If we just take a look at your temperatures, Inverness, yeah, very similar to the other places, a slow upward trend, potentially cooling off again in the early, or should around about the 6th of May. And your precipitation spikes, well, once again, fairly wet at times for the first part of the period, perhaps drying off when around about that 3rd, 4th period of May, when you've got that potential area of high pressure. So just something to watch, I think, towards the north of the UK, end of next week, the chance that high pressure could start to settle things down up there, with always the risk of showers further south. So that's it in summary. I hope you've all found the forecast useful. Unsettled weekend with rain or showers, warming up next week from the southeast with the risk of some of those thundery showers. Rain never too far away from the south and southwest, and as we've mentioned, just the possibility that high pressure could come in just to try and settle things down across Scotland and the north later next week and into the early part of next week. But we're not out of the woods just yet, because as we've seen, there is just a chance, and I'm going to show you just for fun A snow depth chart for Inverness. We're not out of the woods, are we, guys and girls? 5th of May through to the 10th. There are still a few little spikes. I'll be back again on Tuesday. Lots to keep an eye on. Have a great weekend and ciao for now.